10 Reasons to Love, Ed Blackwell. Edward Blackwell was born on October 10th, 1929 and died on October 7th, 1992. He was an American jazz drummer, best known for his work with the saxophonist Ornette Coleman. Blackwell was born in New Orleans, and his career began there in the 1950s, where he played in a bebop quintet with pianist Ellis Marsalis and clarinetist Alvin Batiste, and then he briefly toured with the great Ray Charles. Some of Blackwell's biggest drumming influences were the second-line brass band music of New Orleans and the bebop of Dizzy Gillespie and Charlie Parker. He has also credited his older sisters' tap dancing as some of his biggest rhythmic influences. Ed Blackwell became known nationally when he joined Ornette Coleman's quartet around 1960, when he took over for the great Billy Higgins during Coleman's residency at the Five Spot Cafe in Manhattan. Blackwell was a pioneer of the free jazz movement, fusing New Orleans and African rhythms with bebop. Ed later toured and recorded extensively with fellow Coleman veterans Don Cherry on trumpet, Charlie Hayden on bass, and Dewey Redman on saxophone, both individually and as the quartet Old and New Dreams. In 1973, Blackwell became an artist in residence at Wesleyan University in Middletown, Connecticut, and on October 7th, 1992, he passed away at the age of 62 due to complications related to kidney failure. Some of the selections we have here for this episode are pretty challenging music. Others are quite enjoyable and satisfying. So if you're not familiar with the great Ed Blackwell, this is a really fun episode. So let's dig into 10 Reasons to Love Ed Blackwell.
Ed Blackwell, who probably isn't a household name for anyone who's not kind of deep into this music. So we should probably introduce him a little bit. I know him from his work with Don Cherry and Ornette Coleman. That's kind of it. I don't know much else. Was there much else? Where did he come from? California guy?
No, New Orleans, right? He was born October 10th of 1929 in New Orleans.
I wasn't sure if he was born there, but I knew he was from there, yeah.
Yeah, and he started there, and I think part of what makes him unique is there's a major New Orleans element to his playing. But again, it's a real personal way of those influences. But I mean, coming up in that city, being born in 1929, he heard all kind of great and interesting music.
Yeah.
You can hear a lot of the second line tradition in his playing, a lot of the brass band tradition, as well as all of the, all the more modern jazz stuff, because he totally comes out of all the innovations that happened in the music. But again, just like a very unique personality in the music.
You said born in 29. When was Philly Joe born?
1923.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's like the next generation after that.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I think of his drumming as being, because we associate him with this pretty out kind of avant-garde, but his drumming to me seems very rooted in kind of almost.
Yes.
To the fault, he kind of plays short phrases.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's actually a great thing to point out, is that he is sort of, people talk about him when they talk about more, avant-garde music, but yeah, there's nothing but lineage and legacy in his playing.
Yeah, I don't think of the drumming as like out.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But some of the music is pretty, reaching, and he just has a unique take on it. And sound and
you said
style.
You're kind of deep into a Blackwell mode. What is it?
Yeah, I mean, to some level, I feel like I'm always trying to find new things that excite me, and new music, new records, new artists, new records. These aren't just drummers, like band leaders and composers and whatnot. I've obviously heard Ed for a long time, but starting to discover different records with him over the years. Some of this could have been 10 years ago or 15 years ago. Some of it could have been 5 years ago. You find a new record, and I like a lot of the music he's involved with. And there's just something unique about him. He's got kind of a unique enough style that, I heard like a documentary about him. It's on YouTube, and listened to it, and I've heard other people talk about him, like his love for Max's playing. And like, I could hear it, but like now I can't unhear it now. It's like I hear it all the time. Like, oh wow, yeah, I can hear the total how much he loved Max's playing. And I'm sure he loved a ton of drummers. I don't have the inside scoop, at all. I just know what I'm hearing and how much I love it. And there's been some records I've found, and I think one's on my selection, one of my selections, something that I didn't hear until maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And there's a few from that era that were newer to me. So to discover, like I'll hear something occasionally I haven't heard with Elvin, but like there was more of that with Ed for me, like discovering new stuff, new to me. And I just love the whole, the kind of African Afro-influenced style of his playing and the way it meets kind of the bebop drumming. It's just great, man. I say the same stuff all the time. He's just a beautiful musician and got a great feel and a unique style. And I love it. And I just, more than anything, I love a lot of the music he's involved with. You can't overstate that. It's like,
no, absolutely.
Check the music out.
Yeah, the music is what we're really talking about.
Yeah.
So the first track is Little Symphony off of Ornette.
This is our music.
This is our music. This is your pick, Tom?
Yeah, I chose this because I really like how he played with this band. He took the great Billy Higgins' place, who also played great, even though it was a little different. But a lot of the melodies that this group would play, not all of them, but a lot of them were fairly complex. And the way he plays this melody with the horns is really cool. I think it's a unique way to approach playing with this band. I mean, it'd be amazing to think of, like like if I were playing with Don Cherry and Ornette and Charlie Hayden, how would I play this stuff?
Right.
Sure. So I picked it because I like how he plays it, and it's just sort of unique. I think you get a little bit of a sense of him in general, just hearing him play the melody. So we'll hear that, and then we'll get into the solos, and you can get a really nice idea of how he approached playing behind the soloists.
You made a great point. Like, now we would approach it like Ed Blackwell.
That's the thing.
If
yeah.
you heard this music for the first time.
Yeah, what would you do?
Well, I know. One thing I know from hearing a lot of people play with Ornette talk about is so much of this music was taught to them by rote. You know what I mean? So you're learning.
There wasn't a detailed chart.
You're learning these little phrases.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he learned it the same way as from the drumming perspective. I think that does influence how it's being played.
Totally does.
Because you're learning these phrases as opposed to like seeing a chart and trying to mark time through it.
Yeah.
So
it's very different learning music like that than seeing it on a chart because then it's like a visual thing.
Yeah.
So it changes how you think about it.
Totally. There's a tune, I think it's that tune, The Sphinx.
Yeah.
There's a video of Don Cherry talking about how he learned it. Oh, it's just this phrase. He plays it. This phrase.
Yep.
And then you're like, oh, that makes so much more sense to like, I can hear it that way now,
It's amazing to kind of ponder that. So that's kind of why I chose it.
That explains because the way that Ornette and Don Cherry play these melodies, they're like together but not.
Yes, totally.
Which is some of my favorite.
It's amazing, yeah. And he kind of makes his contribution, like the way he does it. It's like, I'll play the melody too. Check this out.
Yeah.
There's Little Symphony. Love it.
So with the melody like that, you can hear it. It's like you just learn the melody, you play the melody, you know?
It's really great how he does it because, like, you know, obviously drums aren't a tempered, pitched instrument, but he's approximating it. And his choices for how he voices the melody, I think, are really great. You know, like they make musical sense, but they're cool. There's some... It's awesome. And man, he had such a beautiful cymbal beat the way he played. Like all these guys, it's so great to just hear how he does that, you know?
Yeah.
It's so beautiful,
So
man.
identifiable. We all play the same instrument, but it's so identifiable.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, like, again, just to, you know, sort of put the light on his musical personality, the way he plays and he's playing time, and then all of a sudden he stops and he goes into like this drum groove, and it's just like if I did that, people would be like, get out of here, like you're fired. But like the way he does it, it's like, yeah.
Yeah,
you know,
so much of his it's
so,
become his, like, what we kind of know in his playing.
It's so cool, and it's great, and it's musical. It's all these things.
Yeah.
You know?
The hard pan bass is interesting too, 'cause it's like,
Yeah.
I actually like it for
like
this
it too.
purpose,
Yeah.
for our purposes, because you can really hone in on, like, you know, man, listen to how they're playing together.
yeah.
You know?
So fun. Like,
Very playful.
yeah. I think that's what's missed when non-fans talk about like avant-garde jazz. It's like it's so ugly or
This
whatever.
dark, serious,
It isn't. They're just kind of making each other laugh in a lot of ways.
I had the privilege of playing a number of gigs with the great bassist Cameron Brown, who played a fair amount with Ed, and he told me that he was by far the easiest drummer to play fast with. That's what he told me. He said playing really fast was very easy with him. And he couldn't really tell me why, but he just said, man, it was easy. And that kind of makes sense, I think.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
There's so many different ways. In true fashion, it's not linear. We could go anywhere.
Wherever you want, man.
I think.
Do one to yours, Mike.
All right, let's do Bemsha Swing off of the Avangard. This is the John Coltrane, Don Cherry. This record meant so much to me. Grad school.
Yeah?
Like, it just made like this, because it's such a stark recording. Like, you can hear every note.
Yeah.
And the solo that he plays on this tune, it's over the form. It's little chunks and fragments. It kind of demystified the idea of playing a drum solo over the form for me, because it's like, play a little chunk, play another little chunk, play another little chunk, and get to the end of the tune, and you're done. You know? It's not like these big, long statements. I'm going to play this, I'm going to play this, produce, and we're back in.
Yeah. That's cool.
So this happens at the end. This record is one of my all-time favorites, but it comes in at 3:57. I love it. I love the fragmented approach to it.
And there's something about his sound. You know, it changed a lot through the years, but it you still always know, you know, exactly who it is playing. But there's kind of this short, punchy thing to it, that this immediacy to his touch and sound that it really grabs me. Like the style of it grabs me. It's like, wow, I find that really appealing. And I listen to him so much, and I love him so much, and I would say I'm very influenced by him, but I don't sound anything like him.
Yeah,
like
right.
I try. I mean, in a way, I try. I feel like the influences come in, but I hear myself back. I'm like, yeah, I can't play anything like that, and I just love it, you know.
So the little bit of experimenting I've done to try to get that sound, higher batter head, lower bottom head, at least on the toms, seems to give you that kind of like guttural like thing that as a player I don't like it. Like it's like a weird kind of bitey sound.
Yeah, I never go reversed. Like,
Yeah.
it usually isn't a appealing sound.
Yeah.
So I don't do it.
But I think that's what he was doing. He probably just never tuned the bottom head. It just would loosen up.
And sometimes the sound almost sounds like he's playing single-headed drums sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying that that's what's happening, but I'm sure it has happened, obviously. But
I think a lot of drummers from that era, you know, drum gear was nothing like what it is today back then. It was so limited.
yeah.
I mean, obviously some drummers took great care in tuning their drums and going for a certain thing.
Sure.
And then other drummers, it was like, hey, give me the drum, I'm going to play that, you know?
Yeah.
And that's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
I mean, to a lesser extent, like Roger's like that here in Pittsburgh. Like, you know, I mean, I've heard him play all manner of drums.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, where's the drum? Give me, yeah, I'm gonna play that.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of cool in a way.
That's the way it was with
Well,
Mickey
ultimately,
Roker.
you sound how
Yeah.
you sound how you sound.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
absolutely. Yep.
You know.
But he always has that sound, that kind of bitey
Yeah.
thing.
Mhm.
Even in later when his drum, we'll hear his drums are way looser. It still
yeah,
has
the
that.
tuning got a lot lower. Sometimes the snare would even get really low.
Really
later, and
low.
sometimes still be a little more crisp.
Yeah. That's such a good record. Yeah.
But yeah, I love that record. Meant
Yeah,
so
I didn't
much
know
to me.
about that one until like a couple of years after I got really into Ornette's music. And a buddy of mine, my friend Josh Dunley, was like, "Do you have the Avangard?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "It's with Train." I was like, "What? There's a record with Train with these guys?" And I went right out and got it. And it's a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I was probably 20 years old or something. But I was like, "Wow, man, new stuff."
It took me a minute to come to Ed Blackwell, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't somebody I was into, you know.
He doesn't play like the drummers that I know you love, really.
Yeah, it took me a minute, and you know, it was. But after I really started listening, I was like, "Wow, this is a whole other world of this."
Yeah.
You know, it's really great, really great.
Let's go to Throck. You got a Ornette track here.
Mm-hmm.
Revolving Doors. From Beauty is a Rare Thing, the complete Atlantic recordings. This is like a
A box set.
box.
And
It's all the Atlantic.
And there's
stuff.
a bunch of stuff that's not on any albums, or some are on.
Yeah, there were a couple LPs that came out in the early '70s that were leftover stuff from the earlier records, like Change of the Century and This Is Our Music and Shape of Jazz to Come.
Yeah, then you had like Twins and some of
Twins,
those records. And,
Art of the Improvisers was one of those LPs
Right.
that had extra stuff on
okay.
it.
yeah, but some of these, like in my collection of stuff, there's a few tracks from that box set that I don't have. Excuse me, on any albums.
I couldn't find this one on any actual record.
Me neither. But there's one I always see listed in some like discographies that I've never seen anywhere. You know, I forget what it's called, but I'm like, maybe it's on that.
Yeah.
All right, let me cue it up.
But cool. It's a cool one.
I mean, that grooves.
Not that different than your pick. You know, once they hit that time and Charlie starts walking, it's just like, whoa, that's a vibe. That's a certain thing.
Absolutely.
And these little like
How he
these little
moves.
start statements. You're
Yeah.
like, whoa.
How he
Digga, digga,
moves in
digga,
and out of
digga,
that is
yeah.
just, it's so cool, man, and unique. Like nobody else plays like that.
Yeah.
Nobody does. It's really great, man.
So this track was giving me deja vu. Is this on the Avangard? This tune? It's on something.
Oh,
Revolving Doors?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's
I
on
mean,
something. I'm
I just
derailing.
know
No, wait, pull up.
the tune. You know.
Oh, yeah.
Is that Cherico?
It's on something, but a different version.
Right.
It's just called Revolving Door or Doors.
You're fine. I don't know.
I can't remember if it's Door or Doors.
Anyway. I know I've heard it before.
Yeah. Well, there's a few of those in Ornette's discography.
There's a couple that have
alternate titles. Yeah.
Oh, maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like I think there's a different title for blues connotation on something. Maybe. Like I could be
think-
wrong about that.
I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah. Yeah, there's some that have alternate titles in Ornette's catalog.
Yeah, I was like, I know this tune, but I've never
Yeah.
heard this version, so it's kind of freaking me out. I'll figure it out. Tom,
Yo.
where do you want to go? Dolphy?
Yeah, let's do that.
I forgot about this record. I love this record.
Yeah. So this is a pretty special recording for a few reasons. This is Eric Dolphy and Booker Little live at the 5 Spot. This was recorded in July of '61. Booker Little would only live a few months more. He died in October of that year from kidney disease. It's a really great live recording, and the reason I chose this was so we're going to hear this great tune, Fire Waltz, and the way that Ed Blackwell plays a waltz, and it's just really amazing. It's like a dance. There's this dance quality to how he does it, and his comping. Everything he does is great and unique on it. And I chose this because this was the first record where I really I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And my dear friend, the late great George Hyde Sr. was the one that really pulled my coat to this. He loved this record and particularly this track. So
wow.
I dedicate that to his memory, man, because it's really, really great. Let's check it out.
So we're starting at 2 minutes and 10 seconds in.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. 2:10.
Yep. Okay, so if you're new to this music and you haven't heard that before, you're probably sitting there going, "What in the world was that?" Please check out this whole track. It's long. It's a long track, but to really kind of get this, you kind of need to hear the whole thing. But you can get an idea from that clip. I mean, he's starting and ending comping phrases in places that I certainly would never. It's so unique. It's like, wow, man, how did you hear that? And the way he's playing behind Eric Dolphy, the way he's interacting with Mal Waldron, there's all this stuff. Whoops. There's all this stuff going on. It's like a juggler. There's like these balls in the air that are like spinning, and he's catching them and throwing them back up. It's really something else, man. So, I mean, in this whole record, you can hear it, but in this particular track, it's like, you can hear Max Roach. You can hear Papa Joe Jones and Kenny Clark. You can hear Zooty Singleton and Baby Dot. Like you hear all of the history and then this new stuff on top of it. It's really something. I don't know what else to say about it.
I mean, it's nearly a 14-minute track.
Yeah.
And I think we have to kind of skip through. It kind of sits at the same. It kind of simmers the whole time.
Yes.
Which is what I love about his playing is he doesn't have to get loud in order to make it dramatic. He can just kind of simmer.
That's a great point because
that's-
especially today, it's like so many drummers. It's like music is like it's all this like Bill, but like you said, like it's just simmering.
Yeah,
it's like this low flame, and it's just he's stoking all these coals. He's interacting over here, and oh, you got something to say too. It's like it's really cool because people don't really play like that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no like it's not like a peak, a dynamic. Everyone then break it down. They're just turn it on and they just go.
Yeah.
And I love it.
And there's so many, like I've listened to that so much, like there's so many things to enjoy about something like that. There's so many different things you can hear when you listen to it. You can pick something and listen to the whole cut and it's like, wow,
Yeah.
I mean, Dolphy's an acquired taste.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yes, totally.
Sure.
No, I do not. I don't. You're exactly right. And I realize that a lot of people might hear this and be like, I don't know. And I respect that. I
Sure.
do.
There's a lot of people that are going to
I totally
like
respect
Dolphy,
that.
and they aren't even going to like Ornette, but
Yeah.
for those that do, dig in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let's go to something a little
And
bit
really, if the
different.
drumming was like insane
Right.
against Dolphy, it would just be too frantic.
Yeah.
They're kind of keeping it, like you said, simmering. Like they're just making it feel nice.
Totally.
Yeah, they're setting a scene.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's go with something different, Throck. Maybe the duo?
Do
What do you got?
do old and new
Old
before
New
you do
Dreams?
the duo.
Okay.
I'm curious to see which one of these you chose, man. Because I didn't pick any old and new dreams.
Orbit of Lava. Off the second record.
Go ahead, Throck.
Let's just play it.
And we're going to jump in like 2 minutes into this tune. That's badass.
Yeah, I can listen to that all day.
That is so beautiful, man.
Like, what's going on? Is he playing a log drum or is somebody else playing? What is happening?
Sometimes with that band, it's like, whoa, someone's playing piano all of a sudden. It's like
Yeah, you hear sounds in
Yeah.
that band.
somebody's playing berimbau. Somebody's,
know.
it's there's a lot going on. But yeah, man, it's just I like how there was a certain vibe, then it just opened up, then they got into this thing. How much of that was predetermined? How much of that was just like somebody starts playing? This is some music that's really,
Yeah.
really I just can't get enough of.
I love how he would come up with those simple little grooves to play and you hear Africa in New Orleans in America. It's like all of it is in that stuff. It's man, that's one of my favorite parts about his playing is when he'll come up with these little custom grooves.
Yep.
They're almost always quite simple, but incredibly perfect and ingenious.
Yeah.
And
I think that's what I was saying. Like some of the stuff that's influenced me that I've tried to emulate. It's like it's a lot of it's that kind of those kind of feels. Whether you're playing on a bell of a cymbal or some kind of a bell pattern on a cymbal or on a rim. Where you're moving between like the snare and the tom with the left hand. It's like, man, he has some unique grooves that are really beautiful.
Absolutely. It's all just in service of the music. That's the best part.
Man, I wish we could see that band play.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know. It's funny. I don't know the order of the two ECM records. I'm not sure which one's first and which one's second. You said the second. I don't know which one.
I think
came
the one
first.
with them on the cover was the first.
Yeah, this came from what was listed as the second record.
I
Well-
think that's right, but I'm not 100% sure.
Well, the
either.
ones with the photos of them that's a non-ECM record.
Right, but so you're just talking about the ECM.
Well, I'm just saying, in general, I don't know I've never like sat down and looked at the order of those four records
I
to see
can't
what's
remember.
first,
Yeah.
But so all I was saying is I don't know the orders.
Gotcha,
In
gotcha.
case we're wrong, because sometimes I'll say some stuff on these things and like I remember on the Erskine thing I said, this is from his second ECM records, and it was the third. I'm like, I knew
all right,
that. Why
man.
did I say the wrong thing?
It's all good.
Anyway, check out the ECM and the non-ECM Old New Dreams
Soul
record.
Note stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so great.
They're great. By the way, there's a cool live concert of Old New Dreams on YouTube with Motion playing drums, which is pretty cool.
Very
super
interesting.
loose, but you could tell it was just a thing where they're like, you'll figure out what to do. They've all
awesome.
played together,
Yep.
whether it be the American Quartet.
No, he's
or-
an ally.
Yeah.
yeah.
So it was cool to hear that, just
Yeah.
as a side note.
Definitely.
Well, I'm going to go to my second pick, and then I'll hand it over to you guys. This might be my favorite record of all time. It's up there.
Really?
Yeah, Complete Communion, Don Cherry.
Really?
Yeah, I love it. The sound of it.
I remember you saying
Music.
you were
Wow.
you were super into science fiction too.
Science fiction is,
Science
Yeah.
fiction's
It's up
awesome,
there.
man.
Yeah.
but this one is something about the sound, and there's some things that he plays that are just so signature that I hear all the time now.
There's a big Don Cherry thread in all these,
I know, right?
all these,
lot.
Quite interesting.
They
They had an important relationship. That
Oh,
makes
yeah.
total sense.
There's more coming.
Yeah, dig it.
Yeah, I don't know why. Because like there was so, like this would have been 2004 or something when I first started checking them out. I had to go to Tower Records and buy stuff, and this was the only one they had. Like, oh, that's got Ed Blackwell. Let me buy that.
Dig it.
And it just became my favorite record.
Wow.
So 1 minute into the title suite, I guess it's called Suite, Complete Communion. All right, 1 minute in. This record has that, like, the melodies are just loose but tight. Everything is so cool. All right, here we go. 1 minute.
Yeah, killing.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
So cool.
And nobody else sounds like that.
Nah. Man, when they swing, it swings, man.
Yeah.
And when they don't swing, there's all this like space, and man, it's so great.
Yeah, it feels like there's a lot of room
Yes.
in his playing, even though there's like more than some other folks
His
playing the
beat-
same. It's really it's wide, but not in the sense of like the ride cymbal being a wide beat. It's
No,
like
his
the overall beat.
Yes, his overall feel pulse is it's like this.
Yeah, it's like it almost this. You'll know what I'm talking about, but it almost when they're walking, it almost has a two feel somehow when they're not playing in two. Like there's that kind of space in there. Does that make any sense?
Totally. No, I agree.
It's crazy.
I agree.
I mean, I like that he plays a little idea and he sees what it does to the band. Let me play on the toms, and then what's someone going to do?
Yeah.
So he's not just constantly playing stuff. It's like, I'm going to do this thing, and did anyone catch it? Are we going to go there or not? Like,
Yeah, and again, that sound like it almost sounds like single-headed toms,
Yeah,
but it
timbales
might not be.
almost.
You know,
Yeah.
It's a cool sound.
it is a cool sound.
I mean, it's
yeah, I don't want it to. I'm glad that's the sound.
yeah, yes,
You know, it's like, woo, that's
yeah.
cool.
I love that record. I love long pieces. I love suites. I think it's just fun.
Yeah.
For sure.
We concur.
Where do we go now? Tom, you've got
What do I got left?
Carl Berger or Joe Lovano?
Oh,
Let's do Carl Berger. They had another interesting relationship, and this is from a record called Just Play, and it's a duo record. And this one we're going to hear him play brushes, which is great. He just sounds great, and let's listen to it.
So this is way deep into the cut.
Yes.
26 minutes, 47 seconds.
Well, I can't remember the name of this tune. I think it was called something like Time.
Time is what I have written down.
I think that's what it is on the record, yes.
All right, let's cue it up right here.
That's fine.
I could keep going.
it's been a while since I listened to this one. It's really great.
There's some really great music on it, and he's getting a great sound, a great feel. The thing that I like about this, and it's something that I want to get better at this. Playing and interacting a lot, but still keeping a groove and a pulse through it all. He's really good at that. He can divert from something completely, but it's like the flow doesn't get, I think you said this earlier, like the flow doesn't get interrupted ever.
Yeah.
Plus it's just cool I like hearing him play duo with different people.
Yeah, that's something really.
It's so interesting.
That's something I try to do occasionally, but I want to do more of.
Me
I feel
too.
Like you learn a lot.
I think you do too. I think you get better. You know.
Yeah, it puts a lot of you have, I don't know, you have to kind of do something.
Yeah.
You know,
You can't lean on the bass player.
yeah. And,
Yeah.
and that helps you kind of put a different purpose behind what you're playing. In a
Totally.
way. You're like, I have to cover some more ground here.
Yeah. I think
know?
it also makes you act artistically because like you got to do something, you
Yeah.
know? So it's like, okay, contribute.
Yeah.
What do you got to say? You know?
But he's also not freaking out.
No,
Totally.
He kind of never does.
He never really does. Yeah,
You
that's
know?
true.
He's comfortable just playing some time for 8 bars, like in a duo with brushes.
I know. It's kind of cool, right? It's like, man, yeah.
You got 2 left. You want to do the duo?
I'll do
with,
the duo thing with Don.
Okay.
I was hoping. Wait, is
El Corazon.
Yeah. I was hoping you were going to choose something from this. I
Yeah,
almost
it's
did.
kind of hard not to.
I know.
Macondi is the track
Yeah.
from El Corazon. I cue it up. You want to listen to it first?
Yeah, sure.
Some magic in that track. What the hell is going on? Was it sound like a buzz roll going the whole time? What is that?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, there's that like that Barenbow thing, which
I assume Don
instrument.
Cherry's
I don't want to say
playing
a
that.
thing. I'm just. It's beautiful. I mean, I wish I could play with someone who has some of those sounds.
I
that
know.
goes together.
Does Tom sound like a bass line? There's so much
It's like
magic in
back
that.
to the talk about playing duo. I mean, sometimes there's some overdubs on this record as
Sure.
well, but like I think there's, as a listener, you can cue into, tune into like different. You hear things differently because you're not thinking about, oh, there's this quintet where there's 5 things going on or 4 things going on in a quartet or whatever. It's like a simple statement can mean something different when there's not bass or there's not, piano or keyboards or guitar. It's like, I don't know. It just gives there's a different space for what
Totally.
you're playing. Because you can hear him play similar feels when the whole band is playing, and it's still amazing. But there's something cool about this setting and getting to play like that. Like you find room to be expressive, and sometimes you realize like the stuff my dad was telling me when I was a kid, playing too many notes. He's like, less is more, less is more, and I'm like, more is more, old man.
And now you're listening to Don Cherry and Ed Blackwell duos.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, sometimes what did it for you when you were 16 doesn't work for you when you're 51. You know what I mean? And sometimes it does,
I think both are good.
Yeah, they're both great, and it's whatever keeps you inspired and motivated. And,
Yep.
but I mean, it's important too to go back to. We said this a lot in this series of podcasts. Like, go back to records that you think you're familiar with. You're going to hear new stuff in them.
Yep.
And, you know, Tom and I have way too big of music collections, which is a good thing. But the bad thing about it is sometimes you can skip over stuff in your own collection. So so even doing these makes you like realize, oh, I need to check that record out more.
Totally.
And even some stuff that you've checked out, maybe not all that long ago, you hear it with new ears all the time, and you learn new things about it. And that's just a reward that the music keeps giving back, you know.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah,
100%.
the old and new dreams is going to be for me. I've listened to those records, and for some reason, I don't go back to them. But now I finally hear it.
Yeah, and on some of the non-ECM records, there's tunes that carry over from record to record.
Yeah.
So it's nice to hear different versions of the same compositions.
Totally is.
You know?
Yeah. That duo record is great, man. There's some really interesting and wonderful music on it.
Now, you mentioned this. When you were 15, if you would have heard that, would you have liked it?
I think I would have liked it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have.
I may have liked it in a way where I thought of it as different than what I did. I mean, I still think of it different to what I do in some degree, but it's definitely stuff I'm way more interested in now, is like wanting to maybe make music that sounds like that. But just being young and just loving to see stuff from different cultures. When I was young, I was always pretty open to that. Like, oh, this is a cool music I don't know anything about. In some cases, the more unfamiliar it felt, the more I wanted to check it out. It's like, whoa, what is this? I don't understand what's going on at all.
Yeah.
And that always kind of, I'm thankful that that's always been something that pulled me to the music, you know. Because some folks are like, oh, I don't get that. I don't want to check it out, you know.
That's been Afro-Cuban music for me, like folkloric Afro-Cuban.
Mm-hmm.
I keep going back to it, and it's gradually, like, I'm sort of getting it now. I can hear the clave at least. You know, I can at least follow.
It's a rich history. There's so much to it, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's an ongoing process for most of us, just
Yeah,
learning and getting more and more into it. Certainly for me.
sure.
The way he did those little gear shifts in that, going back to that track, like, again, if that was in a band, it might have made everybody, like, jump. But he's like, no, I'm going to just go to 16ths for 2 bars and then back to where we were.
He's so great at that.
So
And there's some cool stuff on that album and different tracks where stuff kind of pulls apart and almost falls apart and isn't really together.
Yep.
But it's like, it's cool to realize that can be cool too. You know, I'm not saying go out and don't play with your bass player and your piano player.
Screw up
But
the
just
gig.
check the music out and see how that can be. And it's like, oh, yes, sometimes those guys might have been like, yeah, that gets the point across what we're trying to say. It doesn't need to be on the grid and
Super clean,
and hooked up
yeah.
and edited. It's just real. And
Totally.
it's great, you know.
It is.
Tom, you got one more. Joe Lovano, Modern Man.
Oh, yeah.
From the Soul. This is one of his last records?
Yeah. Yeah, this is from 91, I believe.
And these two last, both of ours are later Blackwell.
Yeah, I love this record. It's a great band. The music is great, and it's recorded well, so you can really kind of hear him at the end of his life. He still sounds great, even though, you know, it was closer to the end and he wasn't in the greatest health. He sounds great, and this is another sort of duo sort of performance with Joe Lovano. And again, hearing the reason I chose this was the recording quality is great. So you can hear his sound. You can sort of hear his touch and how he plays a little bit easier than the older recordings. And then again, just his interaction and how he plays with Joe Lovano is wonderful. So
I'm queuing it up. This is one where his sound is a lot lower. I noticed two things. He's still playing a dun dun chicka dun 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 dun. It's like in everything he plays.
As soon as it started, the first thing we heard of this track,
Yes.
I was like, sounds like the same stuff he was playing early on, and that's
Play
not
Communion,
that's a
yeah.
beautiful thing, you know.
And the other thing, and I noticed on the early one, he has a hum to the way he tunes. His snare's got a hum to it. And but the earlier stuff you hear, it's like this constant.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can
I hear
it.
what you're saying.
Like
yeah.
listen to the snare. Just kind of keeps going. And all the earlier
I hear
stuff
what you're
as well.
saying.
It's like
Yeah.
he created some sort of sustain with his tuning. Very cool.
And you can hear all of those interesting little feel changes. Like there's Poco Loco is in that. Dee-dee, 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 you know, like that's in there, and then all of a sudden it's 6/8, and then all of a sudden it's swinging, and all this, you know, it's just, it's like this swirling,
Yeah,
you know.
Back to that. This may be I'm maybe the only one that hears this, but I was saying earlier, it feels like a 2 feel when he's walking,
Yeah.
when he's playing in 4.
Yep.
It's like you can feel this, you know, he's like dang, 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 dang. You can just feel this wide.
Yeah.
The pulse, yeah.
gotta be
It's like
normal,
whoa.
this
It's
thing.
like it always sounds
Yep.
settled and not frantic, which we already covered. But it just continues to present itself.
I think you're right, and maybe that's the reason why certain bass players find him so easy to play with.
Yeah.
Because that pulse, even at a fast tempo, is this.
This other thing.
It's this other thing. So
Yeah.
maybe that's why it was like, oh, this is so easy. It's just, you
Yeah.
know, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Plus, I love that you can really kind of hear his touch a little bit more. You know,
Yeah, he's not cymbal heavy, and not in a bad way. It's like the cymbal's there, but it's everything.
he plays more drums than cymbals. You know,
Yeah.
but it's great. It's if you're not familiar with that record, man, it's a really nice one. Some really beautiful music on it. Dave Holland and Michelle Petrucciani are on it as well. It's really great.
I borrowed that one from the local library in high school. Listened to it once, like I'm not ready for it, and took it back.
Yeah,
Like I'm not ready for it. I don't know what's going on.
That's okay.
that's
isn't-
okay. It's totally okay.
That's part of the.
This
that's
isn't the
part
Miles
of all
Davis
this.
quintet.
No, I wasn't ready for that for a long time. I remember when I first heard it, I was like, wow, this is really nice. But even then, it was like, this is nice, but, and then a little while after that, it was like, ooh, whoa, you know?
I mean, that's the best.
Well, something nice like about the discovery of all this music, for me at least, especially as a young musician, was like a way we all have come upon these different recordings. You know, you have a player you like, you find a new record that they're on, playing with different players, and then you start to realize, okay, this guy plays with this guy, blah 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 blah, and then you start to realize, oh, I like this saxophone player. Oh, this saxophone player is playing with these different drummers, and it just it always turns you on to new stuff.
Totally.
And then when you do have those feelings of, I'm not sure if I like this, I'm not sure if I'm ready for this, I always go back to, oh, I love this guy. He obviously loves playing with this person. I need to check this out more.
Totally.
And figure out what it is.
Yep.
You know, why is this person included? And I'm not saying that I'm saying that they don't deserve to be included, but it's a good way and a reminder of a reason to check out different players. You
That's
know?
a great point.
And that's how I found so much music I mean, that's still kind of how I found most of my music, is just through association.
Sure.
But it wasn't like, you know, what we're doing, you know, like, but it's
Yeah.
great if people can find it any way they find it,
Yeah.
you know, but get out there and, you know, don't be afraid to go to the record store.
Be curious. You know, if you hear something you like, investigate all the people on that recording.
Completely.
Find out where they come from and who else they play with. You're totally right. That's how
Yeah.
you really, and that's how it's the most meaningful, you know, is when you kind of find like, oh, wow, this leads me here, and this is where it is.
Yeah.
You know, all of a sudden it has real meaning, man.
And we talked about this before. It's like, you know, Tom and I bought all this music, and like that makes it mean more in a way, you know. Support these guys and these women that make this beautiful music, and if you're spending your money on it, you're more likely to actually investigate it, versus just something you can just scroll past. And I mean, it is convenient, and we all use it, you know. But yeah, or just use the convenience of it's available, and check out all these recordings with these people we're talking about. You know.
Yeah, there's goods and bads. I mean, the fact that you can search Ed Blackwell and somebody's made a playlist of
Yeah, that's great.
their favorites.
It's really cool.
Like we did here. Like you're not going to get this collection anywhere else.
No, it's really cool.
But yeah, you're right. I remember we talked about Philly Joe. I meant to mention it last time. I bought a Bobby Hutcherson record, a later record,
Oh yeah, Color Schemes
and it is
on Landmark.
not good. Like
It's a little weird.
it's weird.
I don't know that one.
It's a little strange.
It's not good, and I took it back. I was like, I don't think I want to listen to this one. Like, let me
It's a
make
little
sure.
strange.
Let me make sure I get a good Philly Joe record, not this one.
Yeah.
But
But sometimes you got to do it. I mean, it was sight unseen. Oh, Bobby Hutcherson, he plays vibes. I play percussion. Cool.
Sure,
Philly
of course.
Joe's on it.
That was a logical
me
decision
check.
you made.
Yeah.
It was.
I was like, no. I don't
But they are. I mean, these are people, and like their life. This is their life.
yeah,
We should respect that. To a certain extent.
We got
I
to
think.
close with the Ed Blackwell Project.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
This is a perfect one to close with, Dave.
Rosa
Yeah.
Takes a Stand from What It Is, 1992.
Yeah, this is right near the end. There's these two great records on.
Well, he literally came. I mean, he probably shouldn't have played these records.
Yeah.
It was because a dear friend of his it was a memorial service, I think, for him. If I don't remember.
I don't even.
I can't remember it, but there was a very personal reason he did this concert. I remember.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, there's these two records that came out on Inja, with his group, his project or quartet, and these were ones I discovered a little later in my journey to become a Blackwell super fan. And yeah, let's listen to it. It's just beautiful music. It's chordless quartet, similar to the Ornette, instrumentation.
So this is 35 seconds in.
Bad music. Killing.
Great, man.
Who are these people?
It's Mark Elias on bass, Carlos Ward,
Graham
Haynes. Yeah.
They all sound really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
So this was like literally, he was terminal at this point. He had his liver transplant or something. What was it? Kidneys? What was it?
Yeah, he was not in good health when he
It's
did
funny,
this.
I listened to all these stories about it. I'm trying to remember. He battled some stuff for a long time. I forget
Long
exactly
time,
what
yeah.
it was. I apologize.
Lupus or something? I can't remember, but man, it's still there.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
all
music
still there.
music is all there, man. That's one of the best parts about these records is like he plays great, but you can tell like okay, he's not 100%, but musically he's up 200%. Like it's all there. You know?
Yeah.
Which it just shows how powerful music is, man.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Amazing.
because most other humans that were in his condition at this time wouldn't be on stage playing music like that.
Yeah.
It's just
drum
not.
set.
It's just not. Yeah, that. Yeah, drums too. That's just not going to happen, man. You know.
Rad. I got a lot of listening to do. This is inspiring.
Me too.
That's it for this week's episode. If you enjoy the show, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Give us a 5-star rating on Google or Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you're listening to this podcast. And if you're watching it in video form and you haven't already, make sure you're subscribing to the channel so you get notified of our upcoming episodes. Until next time, go check out some of this great music, and we'll see you then.